My wife cheated on me with her lover. After a wild night, she landed in the hospital, have 3 words carved into her back. Property of a liar. Thomas, her partner, was barely breathing in the intensive care unit. Eyes rolled back, a pallid mass of sweat and remorse, tubes snaking from all sides. Like ravenous animals, police officers paced the hospital hallways. And me? I was at home with his wife, Catherine, drinking whiskey by the fireplace. Reports of the club incident lit up the screen as we watched the unfolding news together. My phone then buzzed. Detective Walker. Unknown figure. Mister, would you mind answering some questions, Taylor? Naturally, Detective. I responded quietly as I grinned and relaxed back in my chair. I have nothing to conceal. And I didn't. That night, I had a perfect, ironclad alibi. Catherine and I had security footage, receipts, and even dinner witnesses. Neither of them was touched by me. That does not, however, imply that I was not involved. No, everything was designed by me. Behind the veil, the silent storm, the man who watched his wife destroy all we had constructed, then changed the rules of her small game to make it far more hazardous. However, it didn't begin with TV cameras, sirens, and blood. There was silence at first, with unidentified perfume, closed phones, and icy shoulders. My wife, Magie, had always been erratic, feisty, and wild. I had been drawn in by that fire from the beginning. However, I began to be burned alive by that same fire somewhere along the line. Things changed 7 months ago, or possibly longer. She changed into new clothes. The length of the nights out increased. Kisses of the morning disappeared. I took on the role of the man she had outgrown, the early meetings and the mortgage. She wanted chaos. I was loyal to her. Thomas was given to me by her. King Thomas. With a Dodge Challenger and sunglasses, the bargain DJ is a gym-crazy clown. The kind of guy who thinks he's important by popping champagne in a rented booth. He was everything she was pursuing behind my back, and everything I wasn't. I didn't text her to get her. Not by interrupting anything. No. Her giggle was what I heard. She saved her high-pitched, phony laugh for when she was flirting and trying to get attention like a schoolgirl. I hadn't heard it since college. While she was on loudspeaker, I could plainly hear it reverberating through the bathroom door, even though she believed I wasn't listening. I pressed myself up against the wall. Be calm. Crossed arms, steady eyes. I grinned as well. Serene, akin to a man seeing his preferred film. Tell me, I said. You and Laura were heading out for wine when I last checked. So how do you wind up with a fractured leg and your dress around your waist in a club restroom? She gave a single blink. She experiences the same slight twitch in her left eye just before lying. I don't recall, she murmured. I believe I was given drugs. Naturally. The traditional escape path. Right on cue, victim mode. Stitched up, bloated, and exhausted, I walked up to her bed and murmured, They carved the word liar into your back, Magie. It wasn't a random act. She turned her head away. Excellent. Catherine entered the room at that point. Magie's face was losing color, and you should have seen it. Catherine remained silent. She simply watched the lady who had slept with her husband battle to breathe through a shattered rib while standing at the entrance like a shadow from hell with her arms folded. Magie stumbled and said, Why? She's here, but why? I smiled. She's with me, I see. She was more affected by that than by the fractured leg. Are you serious? I pulled up a chair and remarked, As a heart attack. You see, Catherine and I were putting everything together while you were away doing your little sneak around. All lies, every message, every spa weekend that ended up being little more than a toilet stall and a cheap motel. I meant nothing, she began. No, I interrupted her. You meant every single word. You simply didn't believe that I would ever figure it out. While you played home with a man wearing muscle tees in January, You assumed I would continue to play the devoted spouse." Tears came, not authentic ones. When she desired something, she used that type. "You believe I desired this?" she growled. "Do you believe that I intended for Thomas to suffer harm? For me to become this way?" At last, Catherine came forward. "No," she replied. "You intended for me to remain in the dark. Maddie, you believed you were intelligent. You were simply noisy." She grabbed a flash drive from her backpack and threw it onto the hospital tray. "There is video," Catherine stated icily. "The rear cameras of the club. I made sure they were backed up with your hubby." Like a fish breathing on dry land, Maggie's mouth opened and closed. "This is crazy," she muttered. "You're trying to frame me." I said, "You don't need to be framed. You constructed the gallows already." I asked, "You know what hurts the most?" As I rose up, picked up my coat, and peered down at her. The affair number. Not even the falsehoods. It's because you made no effort to conceal how little I mattered to you. Her mouth quivered. "Please, Evan." Slowly, I shook my head. "No, Magie. Hold your breath. You'll need it to explain everything to your mother and attorney." Her eyes widened. "A lawyer?" I grinned. "I'm going to divorce you. Every social media relationship you've created on filters and false happiness will be lost, along with the house and car. And you'll have to tell another lie when the nurses inquire about the condition of your back. Because the truth?" I leaned closer. "You will be humiliated by the truth." After that, Catherine and I left. It wasn't until we got to the elevator that we started talking. "You sure you're okay?" she asked, turning to face me. "No," I answered, "but I'm tired of keeping quiet." And I discovered something unexpected when the elevator doors closed behind us. I wasn't damaged. I had only barely begun. What do they not teach you about retaliation? It isn't noisy. It's not chaotic or dramatic. It's tidy, accurate, surgical. What's the best part? They never anticipate it. I pretended to be Magie's naive spouse in our kitchen 2 weeks prior to her hospital bed becoming her kingdom of shame. Pancakes, coffee, a peck on the cheek, the entire process. In the meantime, Catherine and I were organizing like we were organizing a wedding, not a takedown. We had it all. Phone logs, private correspondence, reservations for hotels under fictitious names that weren't particularly clever. Mr. and Mrs. Knight as well. Really? We weren't merely observing them. We were researching them. Thomas followed a pattern. He would go to the same tavern on 8th Street every Friday after working out. He always parked behind the building and texted Magie to wait 15 minutes so they wouldn't arrive together, giving the impression that he was cunning. That red leather jacket would be on her, the one she secretly purchased, the one without a receipt that arrived out of nowhere. She informed me that Laura had given it to her. It's funny. Last year, Laura relocated to Chicago. Which club is their favorite? The Velvet Room. An eerie, neon-lit disaster where the cameras were always breaking and inebriated individuals were turned into secrets. However, one did not. Above the emergency exit is a camera. Everything was captured. That camera became our silent witness the night Catherine and I put our plan into action, observing them enter the precise moment we had carefully planned. Luke, a bartender, is a friend on the inside. He detested Thomas, claimed he didn't tip. Therefore, Luke grinned and replied, "I'll leave it unlocked," when we requested admission to the secret back room. Magie arrived that evening wearing heels that were excessively high for a woman attempting to blend in. Before she even placed her drink order, her lipstick was already smudged. With a hand on her waist and a dirty murmur in her ear, Thomas welcomed her like a puppy that had been let loose from its tether. Then, laughing, they disappeared into the back room. They didn't laugh again after that. Luke maintained the lighting in the room just enough to see the writing on the wall, but not so dark as to be uncomfortable. Magie's back is what I mean when I say wall. No one was hired by me to accomplish it. That's where the genius lies. Thomas's opponents were past agreements gone awry and carelessly burned bridges. I only informed the appropriate person of his whereabouts, companions, and time of arrival. Magie became a victim of the crossfire. And what do you know? I'm not sorry. Long before anybody else carved her, she carved that treachery. The media quickly picked it up. 2 people are hurt in a club attack. Unknown motivation. Pictures were leaked. Property of a liar was the viral message that appeared on her back. They printed t-shirts. Memes went viral. Her embarrassment became viral. Magie, too? She was unable to remove it quickly enough. She was dropped by her modeling sponsors. Contracts were pulled by fitness brands. The influencer queen had turned into a joke. Thomas, too? Since that night, he has not opened his eyes. The ICU refers to it as critical yet stable. Catherine came to see him once. Told me that as she was standing by his bed, she muttered, "I hope you hear this, Thomas. I hope it's in your dreams every night. For a lady who is incapable of telling a good lie, you wrecked your family. Chilly. Excellent." Magie was unaware of the extent of the harm back home. She attempted to text me. "Talk to me, please. I didn't intend for things to go this bad. I cherish you." I didn't respond, because her love was expressed through lipstick-stained lies and groans behind my back. And now, it was my turn to vanish now? I arranged a quick trip, took a leave of absence from work, and left the house unoccupied. Not a word. No justification. Allow her to sit in the quiet she produced. Allow her to experience the reverberation of her broken things. I was gone long enough, but not forever. Long enough for her to question whether I would return, and long enough for me to question whether I ought to. I was gone for 5 days. Don't text. No phone calls, no updates on status. Where I was, it was just a blank space. Magie was unaware of my whereabouts. That was the main idea. For months, she needed to experience my feelings of being disregarded, perplexed, skeptical, and powerless. Opening the front door every 5 minutes as if I may walk through it, she needed to rot in that deserted house. However, I had already crossed the nation. A warm place, somewhere peaceful. I had no recollections and a bottle of bourbon while sitting on a balcony at night. Only waves, wind, and the lack of her voice. I didn't miss her either. The wildest part is that, without the person you've formed your entire universe around, you fear that you will crumble. But after the lies have decayed, you only experience freedom. She made 42 attempts to phone me. I didn't answer. She sent my sister a note, sent my manager an email, attempted reaching out to Catherine as well. It was an error. She received one text from Catherine. "He's finished with you. Get rid of yourself." What transpired after that is unknown to me. However, I prefer to picture Magie sitting in the living room that was once ours, yelling at her phone, with walls all around her echoing her treachery. I flew back on the 6th day. Not for her. For me. The wreckage had to be seen, to be aware that the storm was successful. It was dark as I entered the house. Not a candle. No last-ditch effort at a sentimental apology. She was the only one sitting on the kitchen floor, wearing a sweatshirt, without makeup, her eyes red, and appearing to be a ghost that had forgotten to die. She breathed, "Evan," as if calling my name had given her lungs permission to function once again. I said nothing at all. Her legs were still recovering from the night that altered everything, so she stood slowly and with a small limp. "I assumed you were gone forever." I shut the door after myself. I dropped my bag. I thought about it. She tried to put her hand on me. I took a step back. Her fingers trembled and froze in midair before dropping as if it had been burned. "Would you mind if we spoke?" she muttered. I am aware that I made a mistake. Even though I know I'm not worthy of you, I can't sleep. I am unable to eat. I think I'm losing my mind. It nearly made me chuckle, since I had gone insane first. Night after night, listening to her falsehoods, I convinced myself that I was paranoid by gaslighting myself. And now? At last, the poison she poured was drowning her. She took a step forward. I did something that you didn't deserve. However, Thomas he evoked a feeling in me. I felt afraid, bored. I'm not sure, I simply don't. I interrupted her. You have no right to stand in front of me and claim boredom as a justification for treachery. She broke down in tears. I erred. No, I yelled. You made a number of decisions, again and again, and now that your enjoyment has blown up in your face, you're upset. Shaking, she huddled inward. I'd rather not lose you. You did that already. Quiet. Then, in a low voice, what will you do? I glanced at the kitchen, the breakfast table we used to eat at, the refrigerator still strewn with pictures of phony smiles and edited recollections. I declared, I'm going to finish what I started. Her gaze expanded. What is meant by that? I've already filed for divorce, it indicates. It indicates that I've already gotten in touch with your sponsors and forwarded the entire narrative, including the video, to them. It implies that I'm not simply deleting you from my life. I moved close enough for her to sense the gravity of what was about to happen. I want the world to see you for who you truly are. She fell to the ground. I didn't stay to watch, though. I went upstairs, gathered the remainder of my belongings, and returned downstairs with just my keys. She uttered the last thing I ever expected when I opened the door, looking up at me with swollen eyes. Evan, did you do it? I paused, swiveled a little. She didn't flinch. The club night that night, the timing, the carving, the cameras. Did you do it? She caught my attention for a long time. Give her a seat in it. Then I grinned. Now it doesn't matter, does it? I then left. I vowed not to talk to her ever again after that day. However, fire does more than only burn down a house. It persists. It seeps into your clothing, your lungs, and the walls. Long after the flames go out, it remains in the air. Magie, too. She was still choking on things she never imagined would catch up to her while standing in the smoke. She was everywhere in a week, but not in the same manner as before. No more pictures. No more collaborations on vacation. There won't be any more Magie Taylor lifestyle posts with perfect filters and staged smiles. Before she could swipe a filter, the influencer industry turned its back. Twitter users released screenshots of her texts. Videos of her and Thomas laughing together in the club's dim lighting circulated on Reddit. She even lost the support of her own supporters. The comments were harsh. Is this the same girl who gave sermons on loyalty? Karma did a better job carving her than any tattoo artist could. Consider destroying your marriage for a man who is now incapable of breathing on his own. I didn't make any posts, did not stand up for myself, did not have to. There was substance to the truth. It moved by itself. I concentrated on re-establishing my life and my tranquility. I moved into a tidy apartment that was very quiet. No clouds of perfume, no extra phone stashed away in drawers. There was only a couch, me, and a silence I had forgotten. And yet... The phone calls continued. Blocked phone numbers, unknowns. Finally, one evening, I responded. Evan. Her voice was so weak that it was hardly audible. Not a woman, but a spirit. I said nothing at all. She said, I know you despise me. I'm worthy of it. However, I must tell you something. I haven't told anyone about it. I said nothing. They're following me, she muttered. I believe someone is observing me. There was a stop outside my flat. Last night, my tires were slashed. My stomach turned, but not out of fear. out of annoyance. Are you certain that karma isn't calling people at their homes? I said in a dull voice. I mean it, she growled. This isn't hate speech online. This is true. I'm being played by someone. Are you certain it's not another one of Thomas's side pieces? I inquired. Magie, you weren't his only error. Quiet. Then she replied, I think it's someone you told. And I froze. Her words made my stomach drop. What? She said softly. What transpired at the club that evening wasn't a coincidence. You had a strategy with Catherine. I am aware of that. I deserved the divorce, so I don't care about it. However, what happened next? The threats, the stalking? I believe it's because of what you started. I tightened my jaw. I said, No one is coming for you, Magie. They did so already. You made it through. She said, But someone's still playing. And I don't think they're finished. I ended the call. And I didn't feel like a winner for the first time in weeks. I sensed a darker feeling. Not regret, not remorse. Something halfway. What would happen if someone did go too far? What if I had let things get out of control and something uncontrollable was now at large in her world? I attempted to dismiss it. I told myself that she was merely afraid, suspicious. As usual, spiraling. However, I received a call from Catherine the following evening. Have you heard about Magie? She inquired. Number what? She was jumped. Outside her exercise center. Black eye, wrist injury. Liar gets what she deserves, the man muttered. I took a seat. Heart stopped beating. Catherine hesitated. This isn't what you did, right? No, I blurted out. Did you? Obviously not. Quiet. Who in heck did that then? She inquired. And I had no response for the first time. The game seemed to be over to me. As it happens, it was only a matter of switching players. I didn't get much sleep the night after Magie was jumped, not because she was important to me. When I saw Thomas's name appear on her lock screen, a piece of me died. No, there was something colder that kept me awake. An epiphany. She no longer considered me to be the most dangerous person in her life, and that meant that things were going in a direction that even I couldn't have foreseen. First, I texted Catherine. We need to discuss, Evan. This evening. She answered right away. Catherine, my location. 8 p.m. No cell phones. I was shivering at that last bit. She had already poured 2 glasses of wine and had the windows covered as if we were getting ready for battle when I arrived. Speak, she said. No idle chatter, no hugs. Let's get right to the point. I said, I didn't send anyone after her. You didn't, did you? Obviously not, she responded, obviously offended. Justice, not a felony, is what I wanted. For a long minute, we sat in silence. It felt like the quiet before a bomb, although I could hear the refrigerator hum and the occasional automobile outside. At last, Catherine broke it. There's another person involved. Slowly, I nodded. You believe it to be one of Thomas's adversaries? She gave me a serious look. Evan, Thomas didn't simply cheat on me. He owed others, many people. She went to one of the drawers and took out a folder. Traditional, dense, printed documents, pictures, and red ink scribbled notes. She claimed to have done some research. I became fascinated after everything blew up. It turns out that Thomas has a history of operating scams, including dubious debt collection fronts, cryptocurrency pumps, and phony event advertisements. He let many people down. I turned the folder around. One name caught our attention. Malaloy Brandon. Who is this? I inquired. She averted her gaze for a second before responding. Thomas owed $70,000 to someone who was released from jail 3 months before to all of this after serving 3 years in prison for serious assault. My throat constricted. Do you believe he is pursuing Magie? Catherine gave a nod. Yeah, if he believes she was involved in it, or at least close enough to matter. I rubbed my temples and leaned back. I mumbled, this wasn't part of the plan. I wanted her to feel ashamed, ruined on the internet, not severely assaulted in a parking lot. Beside me sat Catherine. Then she said something that caught me off guard. You ought to caution her. I chuckled, empty and bitter. After all that she did to us. She gave me a softer gaze. Not sorry. Not sentimental. Just be clear. Forgiveness isn't the point here, she stated. It's about not turning into who they once were. We intended retaliation, not devastation. I noticed something familiar when I peered into her eyes. Not affection. Not even sympathy. Only the face of someone who has survived a fire and didn't want to witness another person suffer the same kind of burn. So I did it the following morning. I gave Magie a call. The first ring caught her attention. Evan, she said in a tired, broken voice. Pay close attention, I urged. You are in danger, and it isn't me. It comes from someone Thomas betrayed. The name Brandon Malloy is his. Quiet. Then there was a murmur. I am familiar with that name. Thomas once brought him up, declared that if he ever escaped, he would kill him. Well, you know what? I said, he's not there. Additionally, he might believe that you participate in Thomas's games. She remained silent. I also said, I'm not calling again. Leave town, right now. Before she could say anything, I hung up, because even though I detested her, I refused to let her perish. Not in this manner. However, I was unaware that Brandon was pursuing more than simply her. Everyone who had ever made an impact on Thomas's life was under his scrutiny, and I was included in that. I believed I was out, completed, free, tidy. However, Brandon Malloy thought of something else. First, there was a note. No envelope. No address for return. Just a piece of paper with black ink and all caps that was stuffed beneath my flat door. You paid a price for your participation. I looked at it for a while. The handwriting was rough and violent, as if each letter had been driven into the paper with a knife. I remained calm. The police weren't called by me. Not quite yet. I looked at the cameras in the hallway instead. Nothing. The video stopped at 2:16 a.m., and 2:24 a.m. ideal blackout window. A classic move. This person knew how to move. Therefore, it was time to stop acting as though Magie was the only one with this issue. I gave Catherine a call. On the second ring, she answered. Before I could say anything, she said, He found me too. This morning, I found a dead bird on my doorstep. The neck broke. All right, Jesus, I paced. We must get together. Determine the depth of this. No, she said bluntly. We must vanish. Only for a time. This is no longer a joke. She was correct. I wasn't prepared to run, though. Not quite yet. Because this was more than simply a danger. There was a message. Messages also had significance. So I got to work. I dialed D. Jake, an old friend. He had done me a favor in college. He now worked in the field of cybersecurity. He was the type of man who made secrets cry out. I forwarded the message to him. Gave him every single thing Catherine had discovered in that folder. Names, dates, deals, and the identities of all the people Thomas had manipulated or deceived. D. Jake gave me a call back a day later. Evan, he whispered softly, you're on a list. My blood froze. What sort of list? He let out a sigh. While incarcerated, Brandon Malloy kept records. Letters, names, links, you, Catherine, Magie. Thomas's former gym trainer, too. Everything flagged? A portion of them, he stated, using red ink. What is meant by that? Inmate code, answered D. Jake. Red ink indicates final. I took a firm seat. I had a trembling hand. He's not seeking retribution. Jake added. He wants to purge. He believes that everyone connected to Thomas conspired to defraud him. It doesn't matter if it is true or not. Without saying goodbye, I hung up. This was more than just resentment. It was a campaign. I came next. I packed a go bag that night. Only the necessities. I switched phones. I cleaned my laptop. I also did something else that I vowed not to do. I gave Magie a call. She took it up. She spoke in a breathy, weak voice. "Hey," I said. "It's me. You have to get out of town tonight." "I've already left," she declared. "Entered a motel located 2 states away." She said, "I didn't think you'd call." I said, "I had to. All of us are now targets." For a moment, she was silent. Then she made an odd question. "Do you believe I earned all of this, Evan?" I stopped. "No," I replied. "You were due for exposure, not pursued." She muttered, "I had no idea Thomas owed that man. I was unaware of all of it. Now, it doesn't matter. Simply remain low." Like a child holding on to a bedtime story, she said quietly, "I miss who we were." I answered, "The instant you let someone else into our bed, that person died." I then hung up the phone. Before moving out of town, Catherine and I had one final meeting. Don't cry. No romanticism. Just a plan. "We vanish," she declared. "No figures, no social media. Nothing that connects us." We concurred. She stroked my arm just as I turned to go. "If we make it through this," she said, "we don't discuss Thomas ever again." I gave a nod. However, I felt in my heart that this would not be a quiet conclusion. Someone would end up bleeding. I ought to have disappeared. It would have been better to simply vanish with the new name, the prepaid phone, and the fresh start. However, I didn't. Because the only thing worse than terror when you've been hunted, really hunted, is not knowing when it's coming. So I gave up running. I also called. Someone I hadn't talked to in a long time. Wells, Marcus, ex-military, former felon, a ghost of private security now, the sort of guy who deals with issues that don't make headlines. I owed him one. I took it in. I said, "Brandon Malaloy. He is circling me, around other people. Stop it, please." "Paper trail?" Marcus inquired. "Not a single one. However, I have names, faces, a bird that has died, a note of threat, a security camera that is blacked out. He's attempting to convey a message." Marcus didn't think twice. "I'll track him down." I received a text message 3 days later. Located him. Philadelphia. By themselves. A war once. I reserved the subsequent flight. No ticket for a return. I had no intention of fighting. However, I had to see him. The man whose anger had engulfed my past, my ex-wife, and everything that had appeared to be a future had to confront me. The gathering took place at a dilapidated warehouse outside of Kensington. A classic cliché. Rusting gates, broken windows, and smoke-thick gloom. Marcus was a shadow against a brick wall, waiting close to the exit. He said, "He's inside." But let me tell you, he's not entirely correct. I stepped in and murmured, "Neither am I." There was a sour smell and the smell of oil. Overhead, rats scuttled across beams. Then I caught sight of him. Brandon. Mid-40s. Head shaved. Large hands, the kind that seemed capable of shaking a person's back. He was seated on a chair that folded up. His fingers danced with a switchblade, grinning as if your secrets were already known by the devil. Without barely glancing up, he said, "You're Evan." "Yes." He continued, as if it were a praise. "You helped ruin me. You and your wife, who is a whore." Her partner believed he was smarter than me. Betrayal turns out to be a recurring theme. I moved in closer. "This is over now," he laughed. "You believe you can intimidate me?" "No," I replied. He arched an eyebrow and said, I came to offer a deal. You don't bother Magie or Catherine. You vanish. I walk away in exchange, allowing you to continue breathing. That smile got bigger. Why ought I to trust you? Between us, I dropped the flash disk onto the concrete. Because I brought something you want. Thomas's connections. The actual ones. His files were encrypted. Every fraud, each burner wallet. Brandon's face changed. Every dime he ever moved. Silence. Hunger. He took up the drive. Blood, treachery, and 3 eerie words etched in truth. Property of a liar were the results of what began as covert looks and late-night lies. Breathe if you're facing suspicion, betrayal, or unfounded accusations. Remain composed. Defend your name, your tranquility, and your legal rights if necessary. Hold on to receipts, both emotionally and physically. You're not by yourself. We'd like to hear from you now. Have you ever had to learn the truth the hard way or been wrongfully accused? Post your narrative in the comments section. Together, let's develop, hurt, and heal.